Welcome back to Amesco Designs for another episode. Let's get straight into it with more work on the SB-11 fuel tank, more machining and everything else we've been up to. So, radiator for the RD500. This was the original rad when the bike came in. This is the one we've made. So, same core as what the current super bikes use, so super efficient. Nice fabricated top pieces with radius edges to cap the top off nice. Sam's made these side tanks, welded these billet end pieces on. These are all machined one piece from billet with this tube welded on. Just waiting for Sam's going to weld the neck on now for the cap. Another little outlet at the bottom. But you're just going to weld them side tanks on now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll weld them on now. I've had these tanks from flat sheet, swaged the necks here. So once I've welded the tanks on, should be able to start getting it mounted on the bike.
So this is the right hand side pressing tool for the fuel tank. We have got our sheet metal cut and ready. This is just normal polish, just for a little bit of lubrication between the sheet and the pressing tool, and also a little bit on the sheet and the rubber. Sheets all cut. I've already cut this on the guillotine. It's obviously a little bit big of a sheet. The smaller we do it, the less it will want to try shrink over itself. But the only problem with the smaller the sheet you go to suit the size, the harder it is to line the sheet up with the pressing tool. So you can actually be not in the window of the correct size for the side piece. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. It means you've got to be a little bit more patient with this side piece because of the amount of curvature. So we've got from this point all the way down to this point, it's quite a high crown, and then also it's got to fold over here and around here, so it really takes a lot more shrinking and stretching and a lot more pan techniques on the side than the top piece. So let's get this on the press and we'll get cracking with it. So this is after a little bit of a press, tried not to go too far, a little bit of a trim up, still oversized but giving us a little bit more of an indication of the shape of the side. But you can see, like I say, how aggressive the crown is and the shape of everything, where it's wanting to just fold in on itself, shrink over, big creases everywhere. And this is one of the big things with sheet metal. You nearly have to trust the process and keep going through, even though it kind of looks a little bit screwed up. It's just part and parcel of the process of it, really. Same as if we were shaping a one-off tank without using pressing tools. We'd start on the sandbag, just hammering away, and you have a similar sort of effect. It goes through a point where it's perfect flat sheet. You hammer it to a rough shape, it kind of looks a little bit messed up. You wheel it, planish it, shrink, stretch, and it soon sort of comes back and it'll look similar to a panel like that. So now maybe a little bit more trimming, a little bit of power hammer work here, I think, just to take these creases out, another little bit of a press, and we'll just have to keep repeating that process till we start forming it over. So we'll get this on a power hammer now, give it another little press and see what it looks like. So on the machine at the moment is a top yoke we have made and designed for Mark at Handmade. If you haven't heard of Handmade, check them out on Instagram. Some really cool builds. Sort of like a retro superbike style, using modern bikes. Puts his own spin on it. Really cool, really talented metal worker. So be sure to check his builds out. This yoke is for his latest XSR 900, which he's calling an XZR. Bit of a YZ sort of 500 spin on it. A little bit of retro superbike in there, just super unique and really cool. This is a top yoke we've done for him for the latest build, which is going to the Bike Shed show in London. Spin this round. Really clean looking top yoke. Nice and simple. Really racy. Matt really likes that race inspired look, so this suits it down to a T. A little bit of engraving in there. We've also designed some rear sets for Hashimoto's latest build, so we'll get this top yoke off and we'll get the rear sets cutting.
So we could have just put round tube in for our cross piece, but we wanted to give it that aerofoil look. We made this jig specifically for squashing the tubes, so I'll get on squashing them now.
So after Sam got the crosspiece tube squashed, I turned up some bosses and he welded these in, and various mountings come off these for the battery, for fuses, a few other pieces. He's also got the coil mounts welded in.
So now I've got all these welded up. That is all the welding done on the main frame. I've even got the down rails all welded up. So both of them are done.
So we've had it now in the power hammer, taken all those big parts where it had shrunk over itself and made those big creases. They all came out. Then that altered the shape and stretched it up a little bit. So we had to put it back in the press, bring it back round a little bit. Then we've put it in the shrinker to help it take this shape. We'll shrunk this edge here, this folded edge. And this will then bring, when we put it that way, we'll shrink it round that way, pull this edge down. So I'm just going to flatten this edge out a little bit more by hand with a hammer, and then we'll take it over to the shrinker and pull it around a little bit more. So with the top complete and the right hand side complete, we've now tacked them together. So looking pretty good at the moment. So that's one half of the tank complete. Obviously it needs welding, dressing, final fit and finishing, but this is give us half the tank here. Let's see on the inside, looking pretty good. So I had to wheel all this edge and all the shape in here. Looking nice and smooth now. And then next up is the left hand side. So I've hammered, I've wheeled this edge over. This has all been power hammered. Back on the pressing tool at the minute for a little bit of DA in. See the edges still need quite a bit of work where it's starting to shrink over itself. I've actually split this side here. It's not too big of a drama. This shape here of the standard G6R tank isn't the same shape as our frame, so we have to put a piece in here anyway. So that's no drama, but this isn't too far away, this piece. So next up is to get this ready for fitment onto this side. and then the tank can be welded together.
This is another rad I'm on with. This one's for the ZXR 750 race bike. Sort of similar to the other rad that I've just done, except I've fabricated the outlet from flat sheet.
It's really trick. So the original rad, this was the original rad. Pretty much just replicating it exact, few minor tweaks. What you got left to do on this then?
So I'll be making a couple of little bosses now, the temperature sensor boss and a couple of other little bosses for outlets.
Nice. Okay, so this is the left-hand side of the fuel tank, almost complete now, ready for fitment. So this is at the same stage as we had the other side when we started to fit it. So now we'll get the jig back onto the stand and get that left-hand side piece trimmed and fitted. Voila. A finished, well, nearly finished fuel tank. All the three pieces are all tacked together in place. We've just welded a little T-piece and just dressed it off there. This needs a little bit more hammer work and everything, a little bit of planishing, but just for a little bit of strength there to hold it together when we fit the bottom. So, really happy with it. All three pieces gone together really nice. Sam's already started making a bottom for this, so we're going to test fit that on. But next up for this, he'll get this welded up inside and out. We'll dress the weld up on the outside and then final finish. And then the bottom will be getting fitted. So, looking a lot more like a fuel tank now.
So I've got this radiator finished for the RD now. It's gone together really nice. Got it all mounted up on the proper rubbers and top hats. So the next thing now will be to take it off, then pressure test it, and then once that's complete, I'll be putting it back on, and then that's ready to spin some laps.
So while Sam was getting the RD radiator mounted, I've nearly got the ZXR one done. Just need to tip the radiator back a little bit further, give it a bit more clearance to the tyre, get it a little bit closer to the headers, and then I'll make a billet bracket to pick up off here. But this one's looking really good. Curved and tapered. Nice hand fabricated outlet. Looking good. So we're going to wrap it up for another episode here at Mesco Designs. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to keep your eye out for upcoming videos. We're going to get this tank finished off and then we're going to start assembly of the SB-11 build. We've got some exciting news for the SB-11 coming up, so keep your eyes out for that one. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe and follow us on our socials. But for now, we'll see you at the next one.
See you at the next one.
Clap your hands, it's time we have some fun.